is Jalen Rose. I am
What
Jalen
up,
Jacoby.
though?
We are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that
We
do?
give the people what they want.
Dame Lillard had 51. Luka had a huge triple-double against the Bucks. The Lakers are in trouble, but we start with college football. Jalen, it looks more and more like the Big Ten may be canceling their season and moving it to the spring. The Power Five are getting together to discuss this as we speak. Jalen, simple question. Should college football be postponed or canceled this season?
Jacoby, you know whether it's a crossword puzzle or a jigsaw puzzle or a maze, whenever I get confused, I follow the money. Follow the money. And when smaller conferences decided not to play football, nobody really said anything. They were just waiting to see what's going to happen with the money-making Power 5 conferences. If there's no bubble scenario set up, there is no way amateur athletes can get you a collegiate champion this year. It's just no way it's going to happen without so many people being affected by COVID-19 in one way, shape, or form that are affiliated with the team. It's impossible for it to take place. I assume that I'm not the only person that knows this. So therefore, I'm not surprised by this news of potentially the Big Ten coming to this conclusion.
I think not only will the Big Ten postpone their season, I imagine that all Power 5 conferences will, but we will give you that news when it breaks. But now we go down to Orlando where the NBA bubble continues and the race for the 8th spot in the Western Conference is heating up because Dame Lillard had 51 points. When you look at the race for the 8th seed, they are a half game behind the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies have lost Triple J, and the Spurs are 1 game behind, and the Suns are 1.5, still without a loss in the bubble. Jalen, what do you think of the Portland Trailblazers race for 8?
I think Dame Dollar get love in the Bay like Mac Dre. That's what I think. Friend of the show. And you know, when you come on our program during the pandemic, whether you spitting bars at Shaq or hitting game winners over Houston and Patrick Beverly, the same over OKC and Paul George, I got to ride with you on this one. And so, yes, he did miss 2 free throws and the game-winning 3. But coincidentally, the people that were teasing him joined forces to try to beat him with Kawhi Leonard. Okay? So for Dame, I saw how he popped his collar with his post. I am not mad at it. This is healthy banter that you want within the lines. These guys didn't take it personal or talk about who's sleeping with who or whatever's wrong with somebody's contractual obligations. This is basketball. And so I appreciate everybody's input, but also appreciate the fact that the Clippers know in order to play against the Blazers in the playoffs, they're going to have to beat the Lakers. So for the Clippers, that almost seemed like the Blazers are doing them a favor. So it's a win-win for them to get under Dame's skin.
It absolutely is. And I think the Trailblazers end up with the 8th seed because of the loss of Jaren Jackson Jr. and the way the Grizzlies have played in the bubble. But I just want to salute the Phoenix Suns for a second. They're not going to make the play-in game. They're likely not going to. But I just love what they've done in the bubble. Undefeated, great performances from not just Booker, but also Ayton and Cam Johnson. They have just been great in the bubble, and they're building a lot of momentum for next year. But Jalen, this all ties back to the 8th seed in the East, who is going to match up against the Los Angeles Lakers. And if the Trailblazers end up in that spot, they're a tough matchup for the Lakers. And, of course, I'm talking about the Western Conference. And the thing is, the Lakers kind of sputtered a little bit in Orlando. Jalen, with some iffy performances from AD, LeBron not looking like LeBron, role players not stepping up. Why do you think the Lakers have had so much trouble in the bubble?
This week, I want to break down why this squad reminds me of the 2000 Lakers that beat our Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals. Because when you have 2 all-NBA performers in Shaq and Kobe, you need to build out the roster with seasoned vets. And yeah, they have Phil Jackson on the sideline, but look deeper into the roster. Harper, Ori, Fisher, Glenn Rice, OGs on the bench like John Sally that's been there and done that. And so this squad, if you look deeper into the roster, along with AD and LeBron, Danny Green, Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, they need those guys to help lift the other guys that have been role players that gonna have to play better. KCP falls into that category. Danny Green again, along with Kyle Kuzma. And so when LeBron struggle and AD struggle, it's a domino effect. The entire team has been struggling offensively, Jacoby. They got to be the guys playing like all NBA performers, and then the pecking order falls in line.
Well, if you look at LeBron's numbers before the bubble, when he was a serious consideration for MVP, and in the bubble, they've dropped pretty dramatically. But you know what? I'm not worried, because I've seen LeBron James play in the playoffs before, and he steps it up a level. And I really think that he's coasting in the bubble. He's getting in shape, and I'm not concerned by his performance, but I am a little concerned about Anthony Davis, because he came into these sort of seeding games dominant. Like, he was dominant. But in the last 3 games, averaging about 11 points, missing shots, looking a little sluggish. I believe this team puts it together and makes a run to the finals in the playoffs. Are you concerned about the way that these two have been playing?
I am concerned about how they've been playing, because initiating offense has become tougher when one of them aren't doing it. It's one thing to be a great player, but you still have to have other parts that can make the game easier for you. And it's going to be important for Green to have his games where he making 3 to 5 threes, and KCP getting steals, and Kyle Kuzma cutting and slashing, but also making the game easier for LeBron, easier for AD to get buckets and get out in transition. They'll be fine. It's not a room for panic, but this is why without Avery Bradley, I felt I was giving the Clippers the edge to win the conference. I don't see anybody else besides the Clippers potentially eliminating the Lakers.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Clippers, because we know who they're going to be matched up with. They're going to be matched up with the Dallas Mavericks, and they took on the number 1 team in the NBA, the Bucks, and Luka Doncic had a monster triple-double. Jalen, how much trouble do you think the Mavs can give the Clippers in this first round?
Rest in peace to Bernie Mac, who just had a birthday. They going to be in trouble. And as much as I like Luka and Kristaps Porzingis, and they've elevated, shout to Trey Burke, who was out of the league, David Jacoby, before the bubble started, now playing meaningful minutes. Okay, Tim Hardaway Jr., Finney Smith, they have so many guys that continue to get the most out of. But playing against the Clippers, that's the worst possible matchup. They have so many all-NBA caliber defenders that can throw at Luka, and the Mavs struggle in crunch time, because while Luka is dynamic, all young players, especially those 21 and under, have things to improve on. And late in the game for him, it's going to be his efficiency and his ability to create shots, not only for himself or for his teammates when the game is at the end of the game, when it's at the end of the game.
I mean, this is truly a nightmare matchup for this Mavs team, which you know that I love. I love this duo. I think they're very complementary to each other. But we both said this at the beginning of the season. This is sort of a trial run for the Mavs. This is the season where they see what they've got in KP and Luka, and they evaluate the best pieces to put around them. So while they won't go to the second round of the playoffs, most likely, I still believe that this team will win a title in the next 4 years. So, Jalen, you and I have watched every minute of every game in the bubble, and there's a couple players that we just wanted to celebrate, because they are what we consider Florida's finest. And you want to start with your guy, who you've dubbed CC Warren. Preach.
Celebrate good times. How about being a guy that averaged 20 points all year for the Pacers that people really weren't paying attention? Victor Oladipo's in and out of the lineup. Nate McMillan has an identity in Indianapolis on how each player is going to play. And for him, it was to get buckets. And all of a sudden, you get him into the bubble, and all of a sudden, he bursts, Jacoby. And he's putting up major numbers, getting big stats. And then you look back and say, how did he ended up with that squad? And it's like, oh, he got traded for a second-round pick and cash considerations, and he's scoring more points in a bubble than anyone. This is why I value the regular season. This is why I don't like load management, because most people wouldn't appreciate the Phoenix Suns right now or TJ Warren. But now that they're in a bubble and everybody's sitting still, we're forced to be able to watch players under the radar get buckets and make a name for themselves.
Another one of those is even more under the radar than TJ Warren, or sorry, CC Warren. Gentleman by the name of Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr., to the casual fan, you did not know his name because so much attention is paid to CJ and Dame. But when you look at what he's doing, 57% from three. When he shoots a three, it goes in almost every time. And not just that, he's not just a dead-eye three shooter. He plays great defense, which is going to be very important if the Blazers are really going to give the Lakers tough time in that first round. And let's not sleep on the playing games. If they end up in the 9th seed, they're going to need, contributions from Trent Jr. and Nurkic and Collins, because they're going to have to beat the Grizzlies twice, which is why I think it's so important that they get the 8th seed instead of the 9th seed, because beating any team twice in a row is difficult, especially a team helmed by John Morant. Now, Jalen, we've spent so much time off wax and on wax discussing the bubble and discussing the season and the title contenders. And, you've got the Clippers and I've got the Lakers. But I just took a step back and I said to myself, you know what? While I think the Lakers will win, I wouldn't be surprised if one of any of these 8 teams wins the championship. So I've got a list of 8 teams, my elite 8 teams. If one of these teams won the championship, I would not be surprised. When you look at these, I'm telling you, this is how I really feel. If one of these teams, even the Heat, if they won, I would not be surprised. So you look at those 8 teams and you tell me which ones of those teams would surprise you if they won the championship. I'm listening.
David, 3 of those teams went to training camp at the beginning of this season and said it's going to be championship or bust. 2 of them play in Los Angeles. 1 of them plays in Milwaukee. Everybody else can have some sort of successful season without winning a championship. If the Houston Rockets or the Denver Nuggets make it to the finals, that's going to be a successful season. The Toronto Raptors are the defending champions. Making it to the finals,
not answering my
without
question.
Kawhi Leonard, that will be a magnificent season. Same for the Miami Heat if they're able to make it to the finals, and the Celtics. So I understand where you're coming from, but for me, this is one of the Los Angeles teams or the Bucks to lose.
So I'm not predicting who's going to win. My simple question to you is this: is which one of those 8 teams would you be shocked? Would you be surprised? You can't see it happening.
I would be most surprised out of those 8 teams if my Denver Nuggets won it, because they have a young bunch and they have so much depth, but they're still initiating offense through their center. And we have to see if that could be the kind of team in today's game with a pace and space that could really win a championship.
Well, they've got Murray back. They can make a run. We saw them last year make a run in the playoffs. We'll see if it happens this year. Jalen, Zion officially eliminated. Sixers in trouble, and much more. We'll get to that right after this. Stay tuned. You're watching Jalen Jacoby. Summer 2020 has been a disaster. Let's be honest. It's been an absolute disaster. So what you need is those once in a blue moon moments, those periodical check-ins, just to keep your mental health right, to keep your happiness intact. Check in with yourself and enjoy yourself. One of those once in a blue moon moments for me is every once in a while I make sure to get a tea time in with my best buddies and play golf. Get away from the family, get away from work, spend some hours, I would say on the course, but usually I'm in the woods. But that's one of those once in a blue moon moments for me. And Blue Moon, the beer, the delicious beer, is on a mission to celebrate and inspire more of those moments. And now with the new Blue Moon Light Sky, you can enjoy the same crisp citrus flavor you enjoy from Blue Moon with a fraction of the calories and less than 4 grams of carbs. It is light and refreshing and perfect for any type of summertime sipping on the golf course or off of it. I've always loved Blue Moon. It's unfiltered, so it's got that creamy texture you can feel. I love the feel of it in my mouth. It's subtly sweet. It's got that Valencia orange taste for a bright, refreshing twist of citrus. Absolutely one of my favorite beers. It's full-bodied and full-flavored. And let's not sleep on Blue Moon Light Sky. The first time I had a Blue Moon Light Sky, I was like, this is Blue Moon. It tastes the exact same, but it's got a little bit of a lighter body citrus wheat beer with exceptional taste, only 95 calories per 12-ounce serving. Now, I don't think I'm alone to say that. Put on a couple during the quarantine. Listen, when you can't leave the house, can't exercise, you got nothing to do but snack. That's why Blue Moon Light Sky is so good for right now. So whether you're on the golf course for your once in a blue moon moment, or you do other things to get away, check in with yourself, have one of those once in a blue moon moment, make sure you enjoy some Blue Moon when you do so. So whenever you reach for a blue moon, you'll be reminded of those extraordinary times. The next time you're out with friends or just enjoying a night in, reach for a Blue Moon. It's a beer you can enjoy every day. You can have Blue Moon delivered to you by going to get.bluemoonbeer.com. Again, that's get.bluemoonbeer.com. And you can find delivery options near you. Blue Moon, reach for the moon. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. It is time for the segment where Jalen decides what we discuss. It's time for Keep It Moving.
Peace to half
If
moon
you want
Caesars.
to discuss the topics, you say hit the brakes.
Ooh,
if not,
dang.
we keep it moving. Jalen, the Pelicans have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
The Pelicans don't really fly, but hit the brakes.
We'll hit the brakes. Jalen, the Pelicans have been eliminated from the playoffs. Zion didn't look like himself. What do you think they should do with Zion moving forward?
As many minutes as humanly possible. He's going to have some months off. You've load managed him this entire year. He's also dealt with some injuries, so therefore you need to take care of him. But if he can go, put him out there. Let him get some meaningful experience in this bubble. Yes, unfortunate that they didn't make the playoffs, and I feel bad that J.J. Redick balled, and his streak is going to end. But they have to think about the future, and that revolves around Zion Williamson's development.
When the next season starts, I don't want Zion to look like a stretch mark 4. I do not want Zion to look like a stretch mark 4. He looked like a stretch mark 4 all season long, and come next December or January, whenever they start the season, I want him to be a 4, not a stretch mark 4. I think that's what's best for him in his career moving forward. We have some really bad news for Philadelphia and the Sixers. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Ben Simmons has left the bubble because he's going to get surgery. Likely will not return. Joel Embiid twisted his ankle on the stanchion. Doesn't look to be too serious. Jalen, how bad is this for the Sixers?
You can't control injuries, in particular to great players, but both of those guys having a history of injury together and plus occupying the same space on the floor when they're both dominant around the hoop. I just always felt while terrific individually, they're both so really good that they could almost go somewhere else where a team can build around their strengths and weaknesses. So therefore, since they're under contract a couple of more years, along with Tobias Harris and Al Horford, Jacoby, this is your squad. So you have to consider all things on the table. You ain't trying to just give up on a young superstar, but you got to pick up the phone and see if you could get what OKC got for Paul George or something like that. Otherwise, I believe that they're going to change the coach. And so now you keep your core 4. Now you're going to change the coach this offseason. That guy's going to come in and see if he could get them somewhere that Brett Brown was not going to be able to get them to. That's what's going to happen in their situation. I don't believe the core 4 and the coach come back next year and complete the next season when they failed to meet expectations these last couple of years.
I mean, bubble or not, this was the make it or break it year for this group of Sixers, including Brett Brown. If they go deep into the playoffs and show they can really championship contend next year, then they keep them together. If they get bounced in the first or second round and it just looks wrong and the chemistry's off and the geometry of the floor is off, then you remix it moving forward. But with Ben Simmons out, it kind of gives them an excuse. It kind of gives them a little like escape hatch. Oh, well, Ben Simmons wasn't there. Let's try it again next year. And that's my concern because I do think that this team needs change. And somebody tells me Brett Brown will not be the head coach next season. Moving on, we have another dust up, including the Astros in MLB. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
This going to keep happening all season because they only got a slap on the wrist by Major League Baseball for cheating and winning the championship. So keep it moving on the Astros.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
The Houston Rockets have eliminated the Sacramento Kings from playoff contention. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
De'Aaron Fox might be the fastest person in the league with the ball. Watch out for him in the future. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
The Nuggets beat the Jazz as they jockey for position in the middle of 1 through 8 in the Western Conference. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
It was a great game back and forth between Donovan Mitchell and the Joker, the stretch mark 5, Jokovic. Jalen, if you are in the middle of the pack in the Western Conference, do you try to position yourself to play the Jazz? How does this work?
The bottom line is you don't want to play the Nuggets if you're not one of the Los Angeles teams. And I was looking at the box score all season, Jacoby, and one name kept jumping out to me, Michael Porter Jr. I told you he can be a difference maker playing alongside the Joker, a guy that can make threes, but also be a really good cutter. When you have a center that passes the ball like Jokic and opens up the paint, you need somebody that's going to move without the ball and get offensive rebounds and get loose balls. So now that they're unlocking his game to go with the depth that they already have, you know how much I like this Denver Nuggets team, and the Utah Jazz don't have Bogdanovich. So it can't be too much upside with a guy that's so very productive not being in the lineup.
Obviously, I know his name is Jokic. I disrespect him almost every day by calling him the stretch mark 5. Might as well get his name right. Moving on. Our guy, future media star Draymond Green, was fined for something he said on television.
The breaks.
He said Devin Booker needs to find his way out of Phoenix, and he said it on television and then was fined $50,000. Do you think he did this with a little intention? Some tampering, perhaps?
Day, we got a chance to catch up and break bread around 4th of July, and I see you $50K lighter in the wallet. Just holler at your boy. You know what I'm saying? I got something special for you. I got something for you. You know, he's on TV. He's planting seeds for his next job. We all know he could do this gig and be really good at it because he's going to have an opinion. And so he got fined for it. But I'm going to say something that actually goes against what he put out there. Devin Booker really won't fit with that squad. Yeah, he's a terrific player and great players travel, but I want to see Devin Booker being a combination of Steph and Clay on the Suns, not being a guy that's now having to get shots after Steph, having to get shots after Clay. I feel like he's the kind of scorer that deserves to be the primary ball handler and getting buckets for his franchise, and Phoenix is the spot to make that happen.
Well, I'm not sure that Draymond meant for him to go to Golden State, but he definitely meant for him to go somewhere. Jalen, Kevin Durant put something on social media that you will not believe when you see it. I love it so much. You got to come back to see that. Jalen Jacoby, stick around. We'll be right back.
It's a new season, and it's Sport Clips haircuts. All of our stylists are clean certified and guy smart. So come in and get yourself back in the game with our legendary MVP experience. It's a mancation with our hot steam towel, relaxing shampoo, and a winning cut. Check in online and walk out with confidence. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
And you'll be stepping out like a pro.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, I love this next topic so much. It's all I want to talk about on the show, all show long. And it's socially awkward. Kevin Durant famously had a burner account. Ever since then, he's been very transparent with all of his social media activity, responding to fans right and left. And the latest is this. Starts with a gentleman named Z, the creator, who says, "Why are you such a weirdo? You're too wealthy for this. You really followed my girl, and that's why you got blocked." And then he said, "My bad. I accidentally pressed follow and liked all her pics. My phone tripping." Jalen, I love this so much. I also have a little story to tell, Jalen. Every once in a while, I'm on Instagram. And sometimes I look at some Instagram models, and every single one that I look at, it says, "Followed by Easy Money Sniper." He is so out here in the social media streets, following all the thotties, liking everyone's picture. I love it so much. Kevin Durant, I salute you for not having a burner account and for doing everything out on Front Street. Jalen, what do you think about him commenting and following on other people's ladies?
Oh, it's a lot of ways to go with this. So first and foremost, I never liked the "you got more followers, I'm going to bully you and follow your girlfriend or your wife or your significant other." That's whack or lame to me. I will say this for the person whose girlfriend that got followed. It's inherent in our society. The first thing he said was call him a weirdo. And then he said, "You too wealthy for this." When as men and people, we got to stop thinking that the only reason why somebody's able to get with a woman is because they got money. But with that being said, how about the fact that, as you agree, KD is out on Front Street, and it is funny to follow his accounts, but you can't be doing old boy like that. Iceberg.
You know what I always say?
Slim shoe trades from the suburbs.
You can be mean if you're funny, and I accidentally followed her and liked all her pictures. My phone tripping is
that
hilarious,
funny.
Jalen. I think that is
My
absolutely
phone
hilarious. And while I don't want Katie to follow my wife, if that was his response, I would laugh it up. I would laugh it up.
You're a hypocrite.
We'll be back tomorrow on
my
ESPN
you're a hypocrite.
at 4 o'clock. Make sure you stay tuned. During these uncertain times, there's nothing more important than the health and protection and of your family. And whatever you want to protect, nobody has more ways to help keep you safe than ADT. What ADT can do for you if you reach out to them is they can customize a security package that works for you and your lifestyle. Whether you want just the basics or all the bells and whistles, ADT can help work with you to customize a system to help protect your home, your property, and your family. ADT is the leading and smart home security provider. They have the highest quality technology. All ADT products are rigorously tested to deliver the quality you expect from ADT. They have the largest security network. 9 ADT owned and operated monitoring centers are open 24/7, 365, 366 if it's a leap year even. That's right. ADT gives you an extra day. And they have a 6-month money-back guarantee. They want you to be happy with your ADT service. That's why they provide one of the best money-back guarantees from a national security provider. ADT takes protecting your health seriously. Rest assured, all ADT employees are taking critical measures to help protect everyone's health. When they come through, they will offer contactless installation and use extra protective and sanitation tools. Protect now, pay later with low, flexible monthly payments to fit your budget. ADT, the best in home security. We always say give the people what they want. Part of that is giving pod exclusive content. Jalen, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about that we just didn't have time to really expound upon on the podcast. And that, to me, is what's going on in the middle of the conferences. Because we know 1, 2, 7, 8 in both conferences, basically, right? But when you look at the Western Conference first, and you look at 3 through 6, anybody could end up anywhere. And we've only got 2 or 3 games left. So what sort of jockeying, what sort of intentional losing or not trying their hardest, what do you think those teams are trying to do as they look at the second and third round of the playoffs?
Well, those 3 through 6 teams want to actually be playing their best basketball going into the playoffs. They can't afford to be dropping games. And you can see a Clippers team who's low managed and found a way to win like they did against Portland versus one with the Lakers, and their 2 stars just aren't playing at their best. But when you start going deeper into the Western Conference, if you're Denver, you want to be ascending. You want to see if Michael Porter Jr. is going to continue his play. You want to integrate Murray back into the situation. If you're Houston, you want to be knocking down those threes that you're taking and seeing if Harden is going to be sharp because he's gotten knocked out of the playoffs and it's looked ugly a couple of years, and putting Russ back into the lineup as a slasher, leading the league basically in points in the paint since the top of the year. The Utah Jazz, Donovan Mitchell can be spectacular and Rudy Gobert can be dominant defensively, but not having Bogdanovich is really going to cost them. The Dallas Mavs, Luka's been terrific. 20 rebound game, 19 assist game, a couple of 30-point games. He's just been out there balling and killing, and we know about that race for 8th. So this is why the NBA did a terrific job of quarantining their players, putting them in the bubble. Shout out to Michelle Roberts of the Players Association, Chris Paul of the Players Union, Adam Silver doing a terrific job of getting us to the intrigue that we always knew existed, and in particular, the 8th seed in the West.
Jalen, this is not lining up great for the Los Angeles Lakers. Because you look at potentially Portland. Because one of their Achilles heels is guarding guards, right? Avery Bradley, that was one of the things that he brought to the table, guarding guards. You got Dame. And then in the second round, you have a potential matchup with Harden and Westbrook. Now, obviously, they've got AD, who poses a problem for anybody that he faces. And then you get to the Clippers. Like, this could be, for the Lakers to win a championship, this is what they could do. Blazers, Rockets, Clippers, Bucks. Like, that's wild. You know, that's not a number 1 seed type of lineup. We understand how we all got here because of the injuries that Portland had before the bubble and what they got back after the bubble. But that's not looking great. And then you look at the Eastern Conference, things are still not crystal clear.
Hit the brakes for a second. Let's talk about the West for a second. Who you picked to win the West?
The Lakers.
Okay. So when you were speaking into a microphone and giving analysis about them winning the conference, did you not think about the teams they would have to beat in order to do that?
All right, Jalen, me and you got to talk about our relationship for a second, okay? You got to talk about our relationship for a second. Because you're sitting here acting like if the Lakers don't win the championship, then I lost the championship. If the Lakers don't win the championship, then I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they're my pick. They are. But that doesn't mean
that's
they're guaranteed
all I'm asking.
to win. It's a bubble
okay,
situation.
That's all I'm just asking.
I'm not getting off my pick. But like you're smarter than that, though. you're being the media guy that you don't like. You're smart in that. You're being like, oh, you picked the Lakers, so if the Lakers lose, then you don't know what you're talking about. Like you just a bunch.
I didn't say that you don't know what you're talking about.
Disney World.
No,
like, this is insane.
I gotta tell you a secret.
I'm not stepping for my pick. I'm not stepping for my pick.
I gotta tell you a secret. That's how it works in this multimedia game. Sometimes you gotta actually have an opinion and stand on it, Jacoby. I was just making sure that you were standing on your opinion. You gave a lot of wonders and worries about what you felt about the Lakers, but you never said who you felt like was still winning the West. I just wanted to go back before you went to the East and ask you. That's all.
Okay. Well, I don't remember anyone throwing me a parade when I called that the Cavs would come back from 3-1. I don't remember anyone celebrating that. I don't remember everybody.
Yes, you did. The only person in media. The only person in media. The only person flowers on this show.
Media landscape.
That is not
true.
After
Game 4.
That is not
after Game 4, the Cavs are going to come back and win the whole thing. Because I believe in LeBron James. You know what? I believe in LeBron James so much.
You know what?
I believe he can beat.
Let me tell you something.
The Blazers. He can beat the Rockets.
Let me tell you
he can beat the Clippers, and he can beat the Bucks, the Raptors, the Heat, or whoever comes out of the East. And he's going to hold up the trophy right in Disney World. It's like I said, I'm going to Disney World. He's already going to be there.
You ready for this?
I'm going outside.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
That analysis by the great David Jacoby was the catalyst of Jalen and Jacoby going from being a podcast to a radio show. As I met with our boss, David Roberts, in Cleveland during that series. And Jacoby goes on wax and said that they were going to come back. And it happened. And it catapulted David Jacoby's analysis into the forefront of the boss's minds. And all of a sudden, we had a 7 to 9 p.m. radio show. Immediately following that, you got your flowers on our show. So much so Tristan Thompson came on afterwards. So don't act like I had Tristan Thompson come on the radio show to give you your flowers. That is not true. Do not lie to the public.
There's something else I want to talk about. 76ers. The Ben Simmons injury isn't just bad because they don't have him for this playoffs. It's bad because they might look at this team and say, oh, the reason why we didn't get out of the first round, Ben Simmons was hurt. Joel Embiid was a little hobbled. Maybe Brett Brown is the right coach. We just had some bad luck. Let's run this back. And they shouldn't just run this back. They really shouldn't just run this back. Get Elton Brand on the phone. You got Elton Brand on the text. Tell him I said not to run it back.
I do. Let me give you some math, right? Let me give you some math. It's not hard to tell. The Sixers have 1, 2, 3, 4 players making over $100 million this year and next year. That's going to be the core of their team. Embiid, Simmons, Tobias, and Horford. Okay, so if you're not going to do a blockbuster deal for one of your best players, now you look at the sideline and be like, oh, we should make a change there. But here's the problem. If you're playing those players that kind of money, guess what you ain't trying to do right now? Go pay another coach.
I know.
You think they want to write a coach for $50 million to a coach? I'm not going to be able to do it. So now you become hamstrung.
I got a secret. You see Josh Richardson yesterday? He looked good.
I did.
He looked free. You know, they got some more minutes for Thibault. Shake Milton maybe can get it together. Just imagine this. 6-3 series, Boston Celtics against the 76ers, and Joel Embiid is healthy. They got nothing for Joel Embiid. Like they got nothing for Joel Embiid. Nothing.
So what you saying? So what you saying?
I'm saying imagine a scenario in which they actually get to the second round. Right? They get past the Celtics.
So what you saying about the first round? So what you saying about the first round?
Jalen, this is a hypothetical scenario. I'm not a prediction machine. I'm not that type of guy. You know what I mean? I don't gamble on sports. I don't sit here and say I'm guaranteeing this to happen. This is who's going to win this. I'm saying this is an interesting hypothetical scenario I'd like you to think about. They get past the Celtics. They face the Raptors. Whether they beat the Raptors, maybe that goes 7. They lose the Raptors again in 7. Maybe they beat the Raptors. Do you think they could look up and Elton Brand could say, hey, Simmons, very valuable in the trade market. Very valuable in the trade market. We did pretty well without him. I kind of like the way it really unlocked Joel not to have Simmons around. All that Joel was shooting surrounding him. Maybe that works for us. Could you see that kind of scenario where they play well without Simmons? Next thing you know, he's in the trade market in this offseason.
Well, I can't see a scenario of them beating Boston in the first round. So it's hard for me to get over that first hurdle.
That's fair.
Second, I can't see a scenario of them taking the Raptors into a long series without Ben Simmons on the floor. So neither one of those are happening. Okay, that I'm not going to be able
Can't
to
say
do
that
it.
definitively. Can't say that definitively.
No, yes, I can.
Can't predict the
Yes,
future.
I can. Yo, yes, I can.
Okay.
That's the difference between us.
Okay.
Yes, I can. I'm saying that definitively. I know this microphone is recording. I'm saying that definitively. That ain't happening. And so, to your next point, I don't believe that they pull the plug on Brett Brown because I don't think they want to pay another coach right now when they're paying 4 players over $100 million. That's what I
And
believe.
revenue the way it is, with revenue the way it is, and the way it's going to be next year, it's hard. It'd be hard to explain why you're going to pay a coach not to coach next year. It'd be hard to explain.
Correct.
Jalen,
Correct.
you have NBA Countdown tonight. You didn't even get your haircut yet. I know you've got a lot to do. I know the haircut takes at least an hour. You know what I mean? Shout to Andy Authentic. Your haircut is more famous than you right now. Like, we gotta get you back. You know what I mean? Because your hairline is blowing up on social media. Like, your hairline's about to break up with you. Your hairline's got an agent. Like, yo, we need to renegotiate, Jalen. We need to renegotiate. I feel like I don't need you and you need me. That's what your hairline said. Your hairline texted me last night. Like, yo, I don't know if I can do the show tomorrow. My money ain't right. For real.
That's hilarious.
And then your hairline started making fun of my hairline. It was your hairline's rude, dog. I blocked your hairline on social media. That's all I know. Big shout out to Andy Authentic, your barber. Big shout out to you for having the best hairline in the game. Make sure you call 98580 Jalen. You can leave voicemails when we have more time. We'll put you on the podcast exclusive. We'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, Jalen Rose?
We're not done. We're not done. We're not